And who knows? Don't be surprised if one day it's not X-rated, baby.
Hey, this ain't OnlyFans.
So let me see here. Check out my man Ryland. Hey, brother, you look a lot different today without the Zorro mask, bro.
Yeah, feeling a little bit better.
You feeling better, dude?
Yeah, feeling a bit better. Yeah, thank you.
Good. Glad to hear it, brother. Glad to hear it.
The world.
Dude, I don't know how you can wear that mask with your beard either, dude. That would weird me out.
Horrible. It's horrible.
You know, Kate says that's the reason why she shaves, in case she has to wear a mask.
Exactly. And I'm no longer in the circus with my beard, so it's just pointless.
I was just joking about saying we need to throw bananas at people. You didn't have to go out and buy bananas, just so you know. Okay, so Dallas, you look like you're there. It looks like Mr. James Harden is officially no longer with us, it appears, I guess.
That is correct.
Well, you know what happens when you challenge my man to all of a sudden he got scared. He got scared of all 4'3".
Why did you leave?
So, you know, just the other day, I grabbed my puppy's tennis ball and I ran up to the toilet and I was able to dunk right in the toilet.
Why did he leave?
So, do what?
Why did he leave, you know?
I don't know why he left. I just have to assume it either wasn't for him or he didn't like being called James Harden. I don't know. And if he doesn't want to be called James Harden, he shouldn't sit there and dress or look like him. So that's just the way it is. I hear it all the time. I get called Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt and The Rock. It is what it is. Yeah. I don't get called the Little Rock. I'm the Pebble. Can you tell? I'm the Pebble. So, all righty. Let's get into it. So, what we are going to do today, pretty loose today. We're going to do a lot of probably horsing around a little bit. Kind of let's break things up a bit. I'm going to have you guys out of here fairly speedy. So you guys can get about your business, so you get about your studying. And, you know, for some of you who have to travel this weekend, Miss Leah and Kate, you know, get you guys to doing what you need to sit there and do to get ready to go to Mexico. Nice job for you two to be able to go. That's a nice job. So,
Audio.
and you said, if I'm not mistaken, Cam, you told me that Jenkins, this was the vacation thing he started today, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but he will be back on Monday, right?
No, the other
No. That next Monday.
Or the following Monday. Either way. So I already know about Mr. Jenkins, and that was, you know, what we agreed upon when we hired him. So we are good to go
Hey,
there.
Cam, when did you hire it? All we see is a hand there on the side. It looks like it.
That's all you need to know, baby. That's all you need to know.
I'm still waiting for James to go. That's what I'm waiting.
Time. Don't worry.
All right, I'll wait
All
for
in
it.
due time.
I'll wait for it. All right, so here we go. First and foremost, questions. Let's start in Dallas. Let's go there real quick. So we got Tall Matt and Jimmy out there. So what questions do we have so far from you guys for now? No way that nobody should have questions here after 1 week of this shit. No way. Not a problem. I can wait.
Right on. Do, 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 do.
Whoop.
No
All right.
pressure.
All right. Then if you guys don't have any questions, moving. Not having any questions is not going to get us out of here any faster, because as you guys know by now, there is a reason why I am called Terry Talk a Lot, baby. I can keep going. And I got an Energizer battery that big.
I think
So-
it'd be helpful to hear from some of the people who have been here longer, like their company stories, like what they add to the company story that's not in the scripts. If they have like certain things they always say or that they find useful.
All right. That, you know what? I like that, Matt. See what happens, guys, when you're in a different section of the air, as Matt is. See how thinking is a little more clear as you get way up here? So that's a good one. So who wants to add to that? You guys have now had the company pitch and some outline or some bullet points there. For our veterans, what would you add into this that you think would be something that we should be saying in our presentation other than, never mind, I'm not going to say it. So what is it that you guys think we should be saying? Let's spitball this out a little bit. That's a good one, Matt. Thank you.
So sometimes I use, just like Tesla, we don't do any advertising. For example, Renewal by Anderson spends $1.3 million a month in, just the Seattle market alone in advertising that's passed on to to you, the consumer, when I'm talking about, why we selected their home. So I give them a little analogy, and I've been talking about, the marketing budget that, so that's one thing I use.
Okay, Leah, you're a veteran. What would you sit there and you like to add? You didn't think I was going to let you go, did you?
No.
No.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's typically the only other thing I add is that, the other companies, in terms of what they spend on marketing. I'm trying to think of anything else. I basically cut out everything else besides that. I add in that to your warm-up.
Okay, so I'll comment on that for a quick second. So I agree with what both Kate and Leah are saying. I do. However, when I bring that up, and I do bring it up, obviously working for Renewal by Anderson for as long as I did, and the role that I had with them, certainly privy to a lot of that kind of stuff. That's something that me personally, I actually talk about in my close when I'm showing other prices too, and it's to say why their prices are as high. And the only reason why I do it there, is again, in the warm up or in the company story for me, I don't want to try to bring up other companies because at times it tends to sit there and make the closing question a little tougher to get. However, the longer you've done this and as veteran reps, you tend to sit there and be able to overcome that a little easier than others do. Okay. But I do like that being said. I do, because it is true. I don't know that every market is that way, but what I can tell you for sure is the Essler Group. The Essler Group, a franchise owner of Renewal by Anderson. They have all of Arizona. They have Colorado, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Philadelphia, and Massachusetts area, Rhode Island, and whatnot. And for the most part, their advertising budget is in fact about $1.3 million per market. Okay. Per month is what they're spending too. They are the Coca-Cola for reals of the window and door industry for sure. You start moving towards the East Coast. The East Coast, a lot of the East Coast is run by the Dave Moore Group. No relation to our Dave Moore. But the Moore Group here, that guy there, Dave Moore, is actually one of the silent partners for the Toronto Raptors. He has had a lot of the stores on the East Coast. He gave up a couple of his stores in California because Renewal by Anderson wanted to have a West Coast presence on an ownership side. So California, they went ahead and bought back from Dave. But he has a very, very big advertising budget as well, because again, he is probably the second largest volume-wise with Renewal by Anderson from the other than the Esslers. of the $4.7 billion they did last year, just to keep it in perspective, the Estlers did about 1 billion of that. So they are monsters. But that being said, I think it is a good thing to say though, Kate, Leah. What else? Miss Michelle, you've been on the street for a bit for Apex. What is it that you would add, Mijita? What would you add?
I'm like, I do start with the Michael Foyt story. I just do it in a clean, concise way. I like to talk about how the company founder was an actor from Hollywood, and his first introduction to frustration was being in the home. He ended up taking a temporary job as a window salesman. And so his focus from the very beginning was the absolute opposite, because he saw what a lot of the fenestration industry was doing wrong. They were focused on all the wrong things. They weren't focused on helping the people in front of them. And then I just kind of pivot that off into energy efficiency and some of the other ways that were different, but I don't reference any other companies.
Okay. Jimmy, what would you do, buddy? Is there anything you would add? You've been doing this for a minute for us.
Yeah, so I did lead into the Michael Foyt story quite a bit. My biggest thing was I wanted to distinguish Apex from everyone else in every way that I could. And so really highlighting the fact that we do things differently through X, Y, and Z, and talking about the background in terms of his vision, and breaking the mold from the rest of the industry, and starting to plant that seed that is why when they see that final number, that it's not just a gimmick and that it all kind of adds up, and so kind of connecting those dots. But yeah, like Michelle was saying, it's more storytelling. You know, I like to tell a story. I like to make it entertaining. Kind of just like almost like a brief history of what we're doing, but like in a colorful way that it's like inviting and opens people up rather than just selling the company.
Okay. Miss Nikolai or Nicole? Sorry, Miss Nicole.
You can call me whatever.
Okay. Whatever.
I definitely like to create a story too. Like I always joke with them when I'm explaining a little bit about Michael Foyt and why the company was started. I definitely make the joke about his claim to fame role. Have you seen Rocky V? He was the announcer, and it lands every time. They're either like, oh my God, I love that movie, or I'm gonna watch that movie. Like, but just to kind of open it up and get it less like I'm selling the company, I'm just trying to explain why we do what we do and why that makes us different, I guess.
Okay. I'm just to throw a wrench in that for a minute. You know, Michael Foyt never came out in Rocky V. You know that, right?
He's saying that he was not actually occupied, but that was a.
Michelle, you're lying to me.
She
told me.
I was told that by somebody else who's not at the table anymore.
The only credit,
you know, so and I get it, everybody. I get it. You know, I once caught a fish that big, okay, and so and I actually researched this and dug in to make sure, because Michael Foyt was not in Rocky V, nor did he come out in Melrose Place, just so you know, which is the other thing that I had been told, that he came out in Melrose Place. He did not. And if he did come out in Melrose Place, he actually came out as somebody was walking through a restaurant and you saw the back of homeboy's head. Yeah, there it is. That's me right there. That's my head right there. The back of that head, that's me right there. Okay, so just so you know, since we're having some fun, Michael Foyt did not come out in Rocky V or Melrose Place. He wasn't the announcer at the World Wrestling Federation Slam Jam Wish You Get You Late. He didn't do that. Nor did he sit there and invent standing in line, because I did. So just so you know. Shadow, what is it that you would add in your company story that you like to tell that's not on these bullet points here, that you would like to sit there and see and pass out to everybody?
I kind of touched base with what they were saying, but the other thing I'll add in too is when we talk about when we were started in '98, coming up on 26 years, I always throw in how long we've been in the Portland area. And that kind of generates a little conversation from that. People are generally curious how we've done in the area since we've been here, how big our market is, if we go up into Washington, that kind of thing. It's kind of the only other thing I'll really add in.
Okay. And Code, that leaves you, baby.
So I do, I mean, kind of the same. I would really only briefly touch on Michael Foyt. Basically, I'm just saying, you know, our founder originally was Michael Foyt. His vision for the company was to be able to provide the best possible information, value, and experience for customers. And when he first got in the window industry, he saw that that wasn't provided. So he wanted to do something completely different. So he started Apex and made a decision to not avoid paying any type of advertising costs, which was a little bit more circumstantial at the time. But the reality of that is he saw that the ability for us to skip all that advertising cost, lower the cost of the consumer while giving a better quality product is really what Apex was founded on and what our vision is moving forward. But I also kind of add into that, I was like, is it more work than just sending out, you know, 10,000 mailers and sitting at the office waiting for calls? Absolutely. But we're willing to put in that extra legwork so that we can provide you with a better quality product, a better experience, and a better value overall.
Very good. Marky Mark.
Yo.
What do you have to add, if anything? Is there something that you say in your company presentation that you think would be beneficial for us to be able to use out there, buddy?
A lot, I think pretty much everybody's already covered it, but I will say this. When I started to use the structure of what you teach, initially it was hard to make the transition because we used to actually tell the company story in the warm-up, you know, to kind of hurry and get in there and differentiate ourselves from other people. But I think that what that led to, for me anyway, was just more of a focus of trying to sell from the very beginning, as opposed to trying to get in there and understand. In other words, seeking to understand before seeking to be understood. So I like the transition from the start to waiting until, you know, when it's time to actually talk about the company story. A little bit down the road. But when it comes to the company story itself, I've also trimmed that down quite a bit as well. Obviously, I was taught some things that are questionable in nature from the history, but I think the story itself, kind of like what Jimmy was saying, likes to tell a story. People like to be told stories. They like going through the journey of a good story. And so there is something there to be drawn from that. But I think the biggest thing and takeaway that I like to share is basically that, you know, this was an underdog story. This is a story about somebody who wanted to change the industry. He didn't agree with the value of what was being offered versus the price that was being asked, and struggled with that. And so wanted to create a change and offer something different. But to do so, they had to create something different in the marketplace as an option. And that's kind of what led us down this journey of getting into this space of triple pain and, you know, focusing on educating customers as opposed to the strong arm tactics of a lot of the 90s, you know, sales types of pitches that he was experiencing at the time. And, you know, quite frankly, as a personal, you know, as a person, I've always leaned more towards the consultative sale because I like the education side of it. I like being able to help people come to their own decision and understanding of things. And I think people just really appreciate that. At least that's been my experience, is that they appreciate kind of getting that out on the table and saying, hey, we're going to educate you so you can make your own decision. But we're going to actually teach you not just about us, but we're going to teach you about, we're going to take you window shopping, basically. And that was a term that you brought, Terry, that I didn't have in my vernacular before. But the idea of taking somebody window shopping and really just showing them the options, because, you know, one of the things that blew my mind, and I never really thought of it in terms of how
which,
many
by the way,
options it
just so
really
you
takes.
know, Mark, this is way
What's
off
up?
company, just so you know. Just
Not
just let you
really.
know.
Not really.
No, it really is.
Not
No,
for
it
me.
really is.
I know for you it is, but you're better than I am. You might not be as tall. You're not tall enough, but it's okay. But it's but it does speak to
Hold on for a minute. Hold on.
it does speak to what we're trying to do differently.
Hold on
as
for a
company.
minute.
It does speak
You
to
might
that
want
for me.
to.
So
You might want to stop recording here for a minute, brother. This is about to get NC-17 quick. No, Mark.
I'll just
So
get a little tiny sticker and put over it, Terry. There's some really nice little ones on there.
there you go, fireworks.
So no, and Mark, and I get it too. I mean, I'm like I said, just having fun with everybody, just having fun with you, Mark. So
Yep. No good.
um
That's all good.
and you are 100% right, for sure. Okay. We
Except
certainly
when I'm
want to
not.
make sure. Well, that's true of everybody though, right? I mean, I think I'm always right until I'm told I'm not. So that's just the way it is. But you are right in regards to that. There is a story that we have to make sure that we tell. And I'll go ahead and tell a story on that. Let me ask you this. Mark, go ahead and finish your thought, sir. So I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, I lost my train of thought at this point. So
Well, what you were sitting there saying is taking a customer window shopping and,
yeah. Oh, so what blew my mind, and I'll say that real quick because when you think about 5 window frame types and you think about 7 different glass package types, and then you're not even including parts and pieces and all the choices that the manufacturers actually make, because that was the issue. That was where it clicked for me, is when you said, listen, when you were talking about arguing for or against any window, and you can do that because we all have choices. As a manufacturer, we all feed from the same trough. We all have the same suppliers that we can buy from. And at the end of the day, it's all about a choice. It's a choice to put together a window that's either going to have an awesome frame, like in the case of one company, or a great glass package in the case of another, or maybe we skimp on some parts and pieces. But when Pella makes the window for Window World, and they sell a version at Lowe's, and then they sell their own version that's twice as much, if Pella's the manufacturer and says, hey, what do you want from us? And Window World says, well, I want a cheap ass window. And they said, well, here's the chassis. What do you want us to put on it? That's how we get the difference between like a Toyota and a Lexus, right? So when we talk about that and trying to put this idea in the customer's mind that there is no way they can really take themselves window shopping in any sort of meaningful way, not just because of what we mentioned yesterday in the fact that they don't even know what they're looking for, but the sheer volume of time it would take for them, and the value of the time that you mentioned yesterday, Terry, in terms of what it takes for a company like ours to really educate our people on what this market is, so that we can condense that down into one meeting for them, is, I think, just a powerful advantage from a company perspective. But it starts from coming from the right place of wanting to realize energy efficiency through education. And Michael's story, I think, does lead into that. We don't have to get deep in the weeds about it, but it does lead into it, saying, hey, here's an industry outsider, guy who didn't have business in remodeling and didn't understand that process, but took a job, kind of just had to pay the bills. But what was discovered in the journey that we've been on was about helping customers make better choices for themselves, not just in the aesthetic, but in the performance and the expectation of long-term performance, and why the warranty matters so much, and why we had to go down this road and make the choices that we did, so that the customer doesn't have to go through the unfortunate, buy a bunch of windows and then in the next 10, 12 years realize, oh crap, I shouldn't have bought those windows because now I got to buy them again. Isn't there a better option out there? And most people just don't know. You got 35 options if you just take glass packages and windows. And that's not even considering parts and pieces. That's not considering how every company might put those ingredients together a little bit differently. So you really start thinking about the number of hours that a customer would actually have to go through to be able to wrap their mind around what the options are, so they can quote unquote make a good decision. But that's not what customers do. They go get 3 quotes, they compare the quotes, and they usually based upon price. And then they're going to look at that and say, well, okay. And based upon the presentation, of course, being focused on price for a lot of companies, but that's what they do. They say, well, okay, we need windows. There's a hole in the wall with some glass in it. I guess we're going to go with this option because we like the look or like the price or whatever better, but they're not really getting a big picture story. And I think that, the innovation and the change in the company that's happened as a result of some of this training that you've been doing, Terry, and for me, speaks to that in a very big way, because it's changed the way that I present the company. And there's the wraparound and how I brought it all back. Thank you very much, everybody.
You got it. Thanks, Mark. Cam, how about you out there, brother? What would you add to your company story that's not covered in our bullet points here, brother?
What are you talking about? I've only been here for a few months, Terry.
Yeah, which is a few months longer than some of the others here. So that's precious. So what would you add?
No, I think Mark actually hit pretty much everything that I do. I shortened it a little bit, obviously. But no, a lot of the stuff that's already been brought up, I talk about. Yeah, sometimes I'll add a little humor into it. You know, if I am talking about Michael Foyt, how I broke one of his wine bottles on his floor in his wine cellar when I was having dinner at his house. Kind of a funny story anyway, but other than that, everybody's pretty much said everything already.
Okay, very good. So what I would sit there and say, Matt, and for everybody is, as we go through our company story, the number one thing to remember first off is to make sure that we're covering what we need to cover from the answers we got from our CPA. Okay. That's where we want to put our main focus at. Remember, what's important to you does not matter at all. What's important to you does not matter. What's important is what matters to them. So whatever 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 bullet points that they sit there and throw out there, what they're looking for in a company when they do a project like this, those are the things that we want to make sure that we are focusing on is those. Everything else that's in our company story that we want to tell, it's just an adder and, oh, by the way, we also do this, 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 and this, and then go ahead and do that. But where we want to be is feature focused on what matters to the customer. Let's not sit there and because we may not particularly agree with what's there, because that's not what's important to us, that we start running down a rabbit hole of talking about what's important to us. We don't want to be feature focused that way. Okay. That's the important part to get out of this is focus on their wants, needs, and desires, not what our thoughts are. Okay. And that's the part you have to watch out for right there. All right.
Terry, Tanner had a question that's ultra specific to this specific topic. You want to ask that real quick?
Basically, it was going through the CPA as you're explaining the company story, kind of like what you're saying, weaving in what they're looking for into a company. But are you going down the CPA list and crossing those off one by one as you're explaining it? Or do you turn the CPA around and basically say, did I cover everything on this list that you're looking for?
So the answer is yes to both. You can actually do it both ways. So as you're answering, you have your list out there in front of them, you cross out. I've seen people do it that way too. Me personally, and I do it for no other reason other than I'm just used to doing it this way. Okay. I'm a robot when it comes to certain things. When I'm done with the company presentation, I'll pull my talking pad out and I say, okay, earlier you said local. So we covered the local part, correct? Yep. And I know we covered this and we covered this and we covered this and we covered this. So did I catch everything, or is there something else that you want to add to this list that I did not get a chance to cover? You know, that's just what I do. I'm not saying that's the right way. I've just been doing it that way for so long. It's the only way I know. But I have watched people do what you've said, where they cross off as they go. Here's the important part, and it's going to be more prevalent for us fellas, unfortunately. Most fellas don't have nice handwriting. Y'all just don't. That's just the way that it is. So, you know, I get it, but that's the way it is. This is where writing neater is going to be better, because you want the customer to see their answers. You really do. So when we run that one line through it, all of a sudden they can see that we caught that. So trying to write a little neater and a little cleaner might be something that, you know, we should work on. Okay. But to answer your question though, Tanner, again, you could do it either way you wanted to, Tanner. Good question. You could do it either way you wanted to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. The one thing I would say about CPA to watch out for, or not weird out. Look, you're going to get some people that when you ask, hey, what are you looking for in a company when you do a project like this? And they're going to say, I want them to be local, and I want them to be, I want everybody to be over 5 feet tall. And that's it. They don't want to give you any other answer other than that. Guys, that's okay. It's okay that that's what they do. It is. It's okay. Okay. They don't have to give you a laundry list worth of shit. that might be the only thing that's important to them. It really and truly might be. So just because that's all they say, we're going to run with that. And they may, when you get to the window portion of it, I talked to a senior yesterday who brought up a real good point. And that point is, when we're doing our company product and affordability, when it's the product portion of it, though, we asked earlier, when you take your old windows out, put your new windows in, what did you want your new windows to do for you? Be specific. That's kind of like a redundant question. It kind of sort of is. Yes, it is. But here's the shocking part. And here's what I told that rep yesterday. Okay. What I told that rep yesterday was, you're going to be surprised that the answers they give you for the hot button question, 40 to 60% of the answers they give you when it gets to the product part is going to be different. I kid you not. It's going to be different. It's weird how that works. The biggest part of it is because we're talking about that we're going to inspect. So what do you want your new windows to do for you? What those customers are tending to do is talk about their pain points right there. But when you start getting into the CPA, they'll start talking about things that they want that you're not going to get out of that. When you ask somebody, when you take your old windows out and put your new windows in, what do you want your new windows to do for you? Be specific. Well, what I want is a good warranty. They just don't say that there. What I'm looking for is high quality. They don't say that there. But in the product part of the CPA, that damn thing will come up a lot over there. So the trick here is, even if they don't give us a lot for the product, we already got a lot from them earlier. Now you can lead them into it, as this rep and I talked about. You can lead this, and truth be told, I try not to put anybody on the spot, and this is actually not a bad thing. The guy that brought this up was actually Jimmy. Jimmy asked a hell of a question when him and I talked yesterday, and it was actually Double J out there in Portland that brought it up. And good thinking on Double J's part. That's actually a question I don't get asked a whole lot. So that was actually pretty smooth, Jay, just so you know. That was pretty smooth. And the answers are going to be different. Again, we don't want to talk people into anything. The more we can get them to talk and volunteer, the better it's going to get from us. As we start getting into step 5, you're going to sit there and everybody here is going to learn who my favorite person is. My favorite person is, the Mr. You Said. I love Mr. You Said. He ranks right up there next to Ahmed under the bed. But Mr. You Said, we're going to be able to go back and say, well, earlier, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, you said. Well, earlier, you said. Well, earlier, you said. When you start trying to talk people into things, the only thing we're able to do is, well, earlier when we discussed this, or earlier when we talked about that, that's not near as powerful as earlier when you said. Much, much, much more powerful that way. So don't be discouraged sometimes when you don't get a long list of stuff. But as Jimmy brought out, could we be suggestive here? We could, once we get all their answers. So in the product part, if they just say, I want high quality and good warranty. Okay, is there anything else? No. Well, earlier you said you were looking for something for dirt and, cut back on more dirt and dust. I'm assuming we still want that, correct? Yes, you know what? Okay, so dirt and dust. You also said earlier more secure. Yes, okay. We don't have to go down the whole list, but this way we can add a few bullet points. And the reason why the bullet points are there is so when that customer tells us, well, you're the first person, we can then sit there and say, well, no matter who you go with, if you didn't have this, or this, you wouldn't do business with them, would you? Well, no, I wouldn't. Awesome. So regardless of who you go with, they have to have all this. Therefore, your shopping would be over, correct? Yes, it would be. So that's what this is. That's what your CPA and all this stuff is about that we do. Everything we pitch is not so much to be suggestive. Suggestions will start in the close. And that's where we become very suggestive at, is in the close. Or when we're trying to build windows and they can't choose between white or purple. I don't know if it's white or purple. I don't know which way I should go here. Okay, we don't want that kind of doubt in their mind because then they can't make a decision. This is where we'll become suggestive then. Well, I'll tell you what, are you open to suggestion? Yes. Here's what I would do. I would go with white because white matches everything. So if you decide to change, paint your house purple with pink polka dots, white will still match. At that point, they may either say, yes, you know what, that's true. Yeah, we'll go with white. Or, yeah, I know, but I really, really like that purple because it does this or it does this and it matches this. So how do we make it the better idea for them? You know what? Let me think about that one for a second, folks. Now that you said it out loud, I have to agree with you. That is definitely the better way to go. See, this is the reason why I don't even match my own clothes because I can't match colors. Nice call, sir, ma'am. I agree with you. Give me some here. Good call. Now that you said it out loud, that's the better way to go. So that reaffirms that this was their choice. So we can go back to, well, earlier you said this though, if that problem comes back up in the close. So that's jumping ahead. I get it. But that's about the only time we want to be suggestive. So remember that. So Jimmy, good question yesterday, man. I appreciate you bringing that up that way because that was something that we certainly should have thrown out there. So nice job on that, Double J. Nice job.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Hey, Jimmy.
What other questions?
I don't get fireworks.
What else, guys? Fire away. Whatever questions you have, fire away. This is the time to do it. And let's to make sure you understand it. We got a lot of studying to do over the weekend. It is important that we catch up because even for some of you veteran reps, even for some of you, not all of you, but for some of you, we get into week 2, getting into step 5 next week. If you're behind now, your ass will be buried next year or next week. I can promise you that. You will be buried.
And Terry, this is a small little thing, but for like new people, you recommend using the graph like talking pad paper as your only talking pad. So you're keeping the same talking pad and its graph, like is what you recommend as you're in the home?
I do, yes, because I'm a big time graph paper guy. I just like it. Number one, I like writing on it better. I think it makes it easier when you start drawing things out if you need to. It's just easier instead of switching pads. We're gonna have to map out the house right away when we're there anyway. So we're gonna talk about that in step 5 and 6, a little bit about that. So me personally, I'm a graph paper person. Yes, that's what I would use is a graph paper book. That's just me. You don't have to do it, but it makes doing certain things a lot easier, and I don't have to keep switching back and forth.
Yeah, I started using it, and I like keeping that, and it's really organized, and
I like it better. Yeah, I like it better, me personally. What else? Anybody?
I had one more thing. Sorry, Terry. When you asked me what I add with the company, I was a little caught off guard. So I just wanted to say one of the main things that I've been taking from the old pitch to the new pitch that you've taught us is like after I say that we're a full service company, that I then go into our whole goal with our marketing homes is to like leverage their experience. And so, that's why we are so, careful and detailed with every step of the way. So often I'm talking about how our partnerships are all about them having a great experience and leveraging that. Because we only grow through referral and reviews and things like that.
And it's a good one. I mean, there are certain things, if you look at the company part of our presentation that we're going to sit there and talk about. I mean, certain things that I'm really big on, when I start getting into, again, we're licensed, bonded, and insured. I'm really huge on adding in, Mr. and Mrs. Blaylock, because we want to make sure that we, watch out after your home or protect your home or take care of your home the same way we would take care of ours. At the same time, because of that, we're licensed, bonded, and insured. This way, if there are any challenges that come up where we knock down half of your house, there's more than enough insurance money at our discretion to be able to make sure that you get taken care of. Okay. So those little nuances there to try to make it personal. As we go through this, what you'll hear from me say a lot is I start going from what you want and everything starts turning into we, you know, here's what I think we should do. Here's what I would sit there and say would be best for us. I want to make, again, we talk about a partnership. So I want to make this sound like a partnership as we go along. When you get an opportunity to sit there and associate you, the company, and everybody together at the same time, that's the better way to go. So when we are telling somebody, because we want to sit there and make sure we take care of your home the same way we'd expect to take care of ours, here's what we do for us. And then get into that portion of the licensed, bond, and insured. Again, so it does sound like a partnership. Did I used to do that? Subconsciously, I used to say we and us a lot. That's just because of the way I spoke. Okay. Truth be told, I didn't really think about it near as much until I actually came over here to Apex and started listening to all this partnership bullshit. And there's a lot of power in that for sure. You know, this is a partnership that we all have. It is. We partner with you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, because we're going to invest in your home. And this is how we invest in it, by giving you this kind of a price so we can grow our company, because it is our company, folks. It's your company as well. No company, no here. Not good for you, right? So it wasn't until I got to Apex that actually stuck with me a lot more, with all this junior partner, senior partner, managing senior partner, you know, maintenance guy partner, phone booth guy partner, and all this other partners that we have. More goddamn partners here than anything I've ever seen in my life, you know. But those are good things, though. Okay. Moving on into the company part of the presentation too, you know, letting them know that we sit there and we measure success one customer at a time. Okay. Folks, it is people like you that allow us to be able to do the things that we sit there and do. Okay. It is your input that we strongly need to have. I say that a lot because I want to get into the reviews. For a guy that doesn't sit there and do a lot, I don't do no reviews. Like, I've never done a review ever. I don't know what that's like. The review I get is, hey, look, did you go see that movie? Yeah, it sucked. That's about the only review I say or do. But I do know and understand the power of the reviews. So I've always pushed reviews and things like that in the house. So for me, during the company presentation, sit there and tell them, look, we measure success one company at a time, or one customer at a time. And the way we do that is through our concierge program or through our homeowner survey. And here's how that works. Okay. You have a say so in this company. We're going to want you to go ahead and do some kind of an online review on one of these platforms like Google or Nextdoor or Facebook or whatever it is people sit there, the TikTokers or whatever the hell that thing is called. You know what the hell I'm talking about, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. You know. Okay. But the point is it's your guys' input that causes us to make the changes that we need to make for us to not only be a better company, but to be able to take care of our partners like you, like yourselves. Okay. So by doing that, it's because of you, we started wearing booties. Truth be told, it's because of you. We never asked a customer when we walk in the house, do you want me to remove my shoes? Until a customer like yourself brought it up and say, hey, look, how come you guys don't do a common courtesy of asking, should I remove my shoes? You know what? That was a hell of an idea. So we started doing that nationwide, but we never would have gotten that if it wasn't for somebody like you. So this is how we measure success, and you have an input in that because this is your company too. That's important in things like that to bring that up in the company presentation, in my opinion. Okay. Just throwing that out. So you can elaborate on some of this stuff here. These bullet points are just bullet points. Tell a good story. Again, there's a story to tell on everything that we do. Just tell a good one. That's all. Any other questions about the company part? Anything? Cool. So now that puts us into inspection. Obviously we're going backwards, but does anybody have any questions on how to inspect, what we should do when we inspect? Anything? All right, cool. I'll bring this up. Kate, yesterday you and I talked. One of the things that you brought up yesterday is forget the fact that the guy's house that you were at, the guy was a piece of shit. Forget that for a minute. But one of the things that you did bring up is how you use now the white cloth to go ahead and rub windows down. Okay.
Yep, I put plus in my car and fold them nicely. I did that.
How big how is it a difference maker? Is it not? How does it show? What are your thoughts?
Oh my God, it showed so much. There was just tons of bugs and cobwebs and all of like the metal shavings. It was single pane aluminum. The cloth was disgusting, and it kind of actually irritated him when he saw it. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I know my windows are bad," and you know he was in shock, and I think he was embarrassed because it was like remarkably dark.
Cool. That's a good thing. I want his ass be embarrassed. This way we can sit there and tell him, see, if you weren't a piece of shit slob, sir, we wouldn't have to worry about this. So you should buy windows. So absolutely. That's pretty good. I'm embarrassed by that. I am too. This is horrible that I'm standing here. I can't believe you live. Sir, how long have you been married to this young lady? 5 years. Well, you probably need to sit there and get rid of her. This is horrible. This is terrible. I'm going to need a tetanus shot now. I'm going to need a shot. No, but again, our job is to make mountains out of molehills. When a customer, if we do something and the customer says, okay, look, I am so embarrassed by that, tell them, hey, look, not looking to embarrass you here at all. But again, I'm trying to figure out what's going on in here. And unfortunately, what I'm not going to do is take my finger and do one of these numbers. That's why we use this. However, here's what I will tell you though. Not really any good. This is no good, but this is also not your fault. You know, I told you that a minute ago. Not your fault. This is the challenge with having what you have. And this is one of the repercussions of it, you know, right? Repercussions can be both good and bad. Unfortunately, in your case, this is not a good thing. So to go ahead and do that, don't shy away from it. Hell with that. That we can always get out of something. We just got to talk our way through it in a clean way. That's all. You know, that's all we got to do. And if a customer is embarrassed, they should be. They should be. This is embarrassing, folks. I get it. It's supposed to be, because they're inferior products. And this is what you get with an inferior product. Not your fault. However, after I leave here, if it stays this way though, now that's on you now. Okay. There's nothing wrong with saying that. There isn't. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Say that again.
It's not you against me. It's you and me against the problem.
Right. You know, these are the problems that we're having. And you heard me say that. These are the problems that we're having. You know, this sucks for us. Shit like that. So, you know, using that little, and that's what I used to do. I mean, I used to use a little gauze pads, and I wipe stuff down. I push them. I want to see. Same thing on wood windows. I can't tell you how many times I've done this on wood, and there is mold and mildew on that crap that some people don't pay attention to. You know, there's an old saying. What's that old saying? Sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees, right? Sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees. People, you know, you see in movies all the time. Where was this guy at? He was hiding in plain sight. But people get to staring at this stuff for so long, they stop seeing it. Our job is to sit there and pull it out. So that's what I would sit there and tell you in the inspection, is pull it out. If they get embarrassed, they get embarrassed. I don't give a shit. My job's not to go over there and sit there and treat them nice. Their damn windows are a piece of shit. Okay? By the show of hands, who in their mind believes that our window is the best window or the window they should be putting on their home? Who believes that? Let me see it. Okay, so check this out. Think about it this way. Think about it this way. If you truly believe that bullshit, if you truly believe it, your hand went up there and was, if you truly believe that shit, then when you walk out of that house and they didn't sign a contract with you, then you failed those people. Because chances are they're either going to live with the piece of crap that they still have, or they're going to buy an inferior product. So we did them a disservice by walking out of that house because we failed to tell the best story we could possibly tell. Because we failed to take our time in there because we were too worried about getting in and out of that damn house instead of doing our job. If you truly believe that, for those of you who raised your hands, if you really believe that, then you have failed those people by walking out of there and either allowing them to, again, live with the condition that exists or put an inferior product on their home. So remember that when you're out there telling your story. Remember that. You failed those people. And if all that mold and everything's growing in there and it gets into their lungs and they roll over and die, your fault. Or maybe not. I'm just saying. Okay. So that's how we should look at that, is we did the customer a disservice because maybe we didn't do a good enough job because we ourselves weren't good enough. Study, study, study. Study, study, study. Educate, educate, educate yourself. That's how we all get better. Okay. So if nobody has any questions about the inspection, and again, the other important part of the inspection, your hot button question. Hot button. The hot button question that you asked, make sure you're using those things that they gave you, and then add to it when you see an opportunity to. Okay. If they didn't say security and you see a crappy lock or something that doesn't lock at all, let them know. You know, surprised you didn't sit there and say security. This puppy doesn't lock at all. Or these are, you know, kind of just cheesy locks, single pane glass. I'm kind of surprised you didn't sit there and say security. I like the security thing too, because it gets into some funny shit. At least I think it's funny, because I'll start talking shit when they start saying stuff. So you're going to get that guy especially. Well, I don't worry about security. We have guns in the house. You got guns. It's like that, sir? So let me ask you a question. Let me see if it works this way. So when you and the wife and kids go out to dinner and then you go to a movie, you get home about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Does like the family sit on the porch and just stand there? And do you open up the door and do one of these numbers and hop in? Clear. Do you like clear the house? Is that what you guys do? Okay. I'll have fun with that shit, and that's what I tell them. Because the bottom line is, sir, if somebody is sitting in your house when you get home, done or not, you're hosed anyway. So just something to sit there and think about. The guy that sat there and got robbed that way, who had guns in his house, he thought the same thing you did. I'm just saying.
Terry, what do you say when they give you the rebuttal? Someone's going to want to get in, they're going to get in regardless. Yeah, I have single pane, but your windows aren't going to stop someone from breaking in.
Well, you know, that's 100% true, Miss Gralton. You're 100% correct on that. If somebody has enough moxie, they're going to be able to get in. There's no doubt. You know, but the old saying is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Even though you say that, you still lock your door at night. You still sit there and lock your car doors. You know, if you're going to get run over, you're going to get run over crossing the street. But you don't cross the street blindfolded, do you? You don't walk across the street doing this. You don't do one of those, do you? The point still being, you still take all the precaution that you can sit there and take to make sure everybody, that you're safe and everybody else is too. If they're going to break in, they're going to break in. That's fine. I don't mind somebody breaking in my home. I don't know about you, but I prefer for them to break in when I'm not home, take everything that's there except leave the beer, you know, and when I come home, the house is empty. What I certainly would hate to see, though, is for somebody that breaks into the house, because they're going to break in after all, if they're going to break in, when your family is home and you're not, and the protection that you would want to sit there and make sure is there is now not. I would assume that's not what you're meaning, or are you? Because I don't think you are. I just wanted to clarify that. Put that fucker on the spot. What they're thinking of is, if they're going to break in, they're going to break in if I'm not home. What if somebody breaks into the house while everybody's asleep? What about that then? Or does it just happen when your wife looks over? Oh, yeah, if they break in, they break in. See what you did? Yeah, I don't mind. If they break in, they break in. We're not going to do that. So, again, we can get around that. We just got to tell the story. That's all. Does that help, Kate?
Yes, that does. And then, can you, for the new people, we never like historically took out sashes during inspection. Are there some tips to like removing the slider sash, you know, so that we don't obviously break it, you know?
You know,
you-
no, really, it's seriously, like, especially a single pane window, it's simple. Slide, lift, out. That's it. And it is it's about a third, if even that, of the weight of the window sample you carry.
Okay, so the girls can do it too. Yeah, you don't have to.
Oh my God. No, it's a third of the weight of the kit that you carry. It is the third of the weight. If even that, I don't even think it's gonna be a full third.
I have
So-
single pane aluminum windows on my house, and I think that they weigh maybe 7 or 8 pounds each.
Yeah, if that. They are nothing. You slide, lift, out. Pretty simple. What you're gonna find too is when you're inspecting, believe it or not, you're gonna slide some windows all the way open. And some of those windows are gonna want to tilt out all on their own because they've worn out so bad, or the house has settled so much, they're just so out of whack that if you open certain sliding windows too far, they'll actually want to fall out. I shit you not. I'm being dead serious too. Okay. So when you're opening and closing, let's open and close. Take a sliding window, slide it all the way open, slide it all the way closed, slide it all the way open, lift it up, pull it out. Check to see if there's a 90-degree interlocking rail. Check the miter corners on the sashes too. Check the weather stripping on that. At the same time too, flip that puppy upside down and let's find out what kind of clothes are on there. Is there gliders on there? Is it aluminum sliding on aluminum? Is there wheels? If there are wheels, are the wheels plastic wheels? Are they aluminum wheels? You know, are they zinc dichromite or brass wheels? I mean, let's take a peek at that. After all, we are inspecting, so let's check under the hood and see and check everything. Okay. Put that puppy back, lock it. Once you lock it, kind of push on it a little bit, see if that thing wiggles back and forth. Let's find out. On a window that goes up and down, let's lift that puppy up and let it go. And, you know, let's sit there and see. Now, don't just do one of these and do that. You want to lift it up and make sure that if it's going to fall, we don't want to bust somebody's window, but you'll be able to tell as you start to let it go. But if it doesn't just go to slant, let it go. Let's see if it comes down on its own. You know, like some of our window samples are doing on some of this stuff. Okay. So we want to go ahead and check that. Single hung windows, historically, if they're single pane, especially anodized aluminum, they're going to have self-lubricating spiral springs in there. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, self-lubricating spiral spring, it's literally a plastic pipe about as thick as your, you know, whatever you call this kind of pin for the damn iPad and shit. It's about that big, and it literally has a spring that goes, the Apple Pencil, it just popped up. So thanks, Siri. So, and a spiral spring that comes down. Okay. Well, when the lubricant in that thing goes bad, them things get stuck. They don't want to open. They don't want to close. You know, they're terrible. So we want to talk about that. Okay. We want to go ahead and talk about that. So that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we're talking about. Okay. The different type of closers. Is it a block and tackle pulley system? You know, as a block and tackle pulley system, what are the challenges with that? Well, they're a little noisy at times. The window tends to rack back and forth a little bit because of that. So when you take that sliding window or a single hung window and you close it and lock it, not only push on it, but grab the lift rails and move it back and forth. Let's see if this puppy racks back and forth. Let's see if it does. Okay. Again, anything that we can do to make mountains out of molehills. Over and over and over again, you're going to get customers that can constantly tell you, constantly, I know my windows are bad. I know my windows are bad. Look, I get that you know, motherfucker. I keep trying to sit there and tell you it's got nothing to do with you. I need to know what's going on here. We might want to edit out motherfucker, just so you know there, Cody. You know, but we want to make sure that we sit there and letting them know, look, this has nothing to do with you. In order for me to give you a proper assessment, in order for me to sit there and properly tell you what you can or cannot do, or make proper suggestions for you, and even how to price this up properly, I've got to be able to do this. It's got nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. There's no shot at you whatsoever. That's why after we've inspected one or two windows, we have to let them know not their fault. We have to let them know. This is just what we have to do. Again, my arm is broken. I go to the doctor. My eyes, my ears, my nose, my throat, my heart, my blood pressure, my heart rate, my height, my weight. I have no idea what the hell that has to do with fixing my damn broken arm. But nonetheless, that's what they do, though, because that's what they have to give a correct assessment of medications and things like that. They have to sit there and do it. They have to. That's what we have to do. Their house is sick, and we're the doctor. And we have to show it to them. Okay, so that's what we're doing in our inspection. Is that? That's what we're doing in our inspection. Okay. So, any questions about the inspection at all? Is everybody comfortable with it? Is everybody with comfortable with parts and pieces for right now? Everybody. Very cool.
I'm as comfortable as I can be. I haven't done one yet, so.
You haven't done one yet?
I said I'm as comfortable as I can be because we haven't gone through all of the different facets of doing an inspection like physically yet. So I'm still learning. So
what you do is, do it at your place. Everybody do, inspect your windows at your house, inspect your windows, inspect your doors, even when you're walking up to a house, as you're walking up, pay attention to the windows and doors as you see them walking up. Okay. See if there's something that stands out and jumps out, and then remember that. So when you get that talking pad out and you're explaining to everybody, hey, look, folks, I'm going to go ahead and pull my notepad out here and make some notes. I want to make sure I cover all the things that you're wanting me to go ahead and cover and the points that you're going to bring out. And I can't remember everything. So I'm going to write everything down. I will say, though, as I was walking up, I did sit there and see this and this. Write that puppy down real quick, so you'll be able to remember it when you get after that. Okay. So
yeah, I like to look up the home beforehand, like on Zillow, and sometimes there's photos, and I can even write notes to myself to things I want to make sure I identify when because we're new at this whole inspection thing. So I'll give myself, cues before I go into the home, just online at home.
You can. So here, I'm going to sit there and say this, and again, don't take this the wrong way. I am not a big fan of that unless you're disciplined. Now, Kate, I know you, so I will not say this is going to be that way for you. But unless you're disciplined, I do not like the whole look up Zillow bullshit, because there's nothing there that can help you. Absolutely nothing. Unless, of course, you just want to see what the house looks like because you can't read numbers and you're afraid you'll drive by it. Okay. My problem with Zillow, though, is this. Number one, you get on Zillow and you see a picture and the house looks like it's a bust out, then automatically you have that in your head as, oh my God, this is a bust out. I can't believe I'm going to a bust out. Look at this picture. If we take the windows out, the fucking house is going to fall. Oh my God. I don't want to do that. So, oh my God. Okay. I'm going to say this because she's not here. Ari, perfect one right there. Michael set up an appointment in a house. The house was a bust out. She had looked it up on Zillow, and I get a telephone call. Terry, this whole knocking the door stuff, look at the appointment that they set. I just sent you a screenshot. I said, what's the problem? She goes, look at the house. I said, yeah, it's a fucking bust out. What the problem is? I said, look, people in bust outs buy houses or buy windows too. I said, just go out there and do your job. Let's just see what happens. Then she gets out there and she goes, yep, it's a bust out. She's sending me a text. So I sent her a text back. I said, do your fucking job. Let's just see what happens. She gets inside. It's nasty inside. So guess what I had to send again after she sent me a text? Funny you should say that, right? Do your fucking job. Let's see what happens. And lo and behold, she turns around and sells it for what, 15,000, Kate?
Yeah.
Either 14 or 15 grand. I used to hunt a lot. I have shot shit that didn't die, that didn't cry as much as she was. And then she ended up selling it. Imagine that. People in
True.
bust outs buy too. They do.
Yeah.
The problem with Zillow when you start looking up all that crap is if you see something you don't like, that shit gets in your head and it starts swimming around in your head, and you don't want that. Or on the flip side of it, you look at it and go, holy crap, this is a $10 million house. Boy, howdy. And then you go out there and you start shortcutting everything because you think this is going to be an easy deal. Okay. That's why I'm not a fan of it. If somebody can tell me what the benefit of looking up Zillow is, give me one good one instead of some bull crap, I'll say something different.
Age of the home. A lot of people realize the age of the home and how old the windows are when they're, aluminum. So you're like, okay, it's 1960. You got originals. So then you can do math and you can go in there and be like, oh, these are 75-year-old aluminum single pane windows. And they had a lifespan of 20 years then. You can find out the age.
What difference does it make?
Because
if the windows were seven, if the windows were 7 hours old, we're still there to sell windows.
Yeah, but a lot of people they still tell themselves that these windows are fine. These windows are fine. I don't have any problem with them.
Oh, okay. I apologize, Kate. My apologies. Right. Because if we were to go out there and do our fucking job, they'll know it's bad, right?
Well, yes, correct. You're gonna
right.
Give you more tools in your tool belt, my man.
So the point is there's just not a lot of benefit there. All that can come is negative. Again, you look at a place, look, there's going to be times of the year that I would suggest that you sit there and beat up condos. That's what I would tell you. Okay.
Okay, I got reasons.
Terry.
I have two things that Zillow is helpful with.
Oh, this I want to hear. Go ahead.
Okay. So I have to know how old the house is to know if lead charges are applicable, because it's not always clear. If it's 1976, I have to add lead charges versus if it's 1978, which those you can't really necessarily tell otherwise. And sometimes it is useful, especially for newer senior partners, to see if there's any crazy window configurations that we might not be able to build, and kind of wrap your head around those beforehand. So those would be
okay. Okay, so here would be my rebuttal to that.
Okay, correct.
We get out to the house and we're going to go ahead and sell it. Hey folks, how old is the house? I have no idea. I just bought the house 10 years ago. I have no idea when it was built. Okay, well, the reason I'm asking is because any house built prior to January 1st, 1977 has to be tested for lead. So hold on real quick. Let's just, or December 31st, 77. Hold on real quick. Zillow. Yep, the house was built in 63. See, we could do it then. We don't have to know that before. We can actually do it then. The configuration of the window, again, regardless of the fact, then we can wrap our head around it when we get there. Here's my thing, is this. Look, I'm not saying don't do Zillow. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, unless you're a disciplined person, and you've got to be disciplined for this shit. If you're not, which is why I sat there and said, Kate, I know who you are. So I hope you're sitting there drinking cod liver oil, damn it. So discipline. But if you can sit there and you can pull Zillow up and not pay attention to the cost of the house, not pay attention to the picture and how ugly the house may or may not be, that you're not going to sit there and see a big price on the house and sit there and say, it doesn't matter, I'm going to do my job and I'm not going to shortcut. If you can do all of that to get just the information only that you're getting, then knock yourself out and do it. But the average rep is not disciplined enough for that. Even a seasoned person like Ari, who has sold millions of dollars worth of windows for us, she was tripping. She was tripping as soon as she saw the picture. Tripping. Which is so weird because that picture may have been 60 years old. So if you're disciplined enough to be able to do that, then do it. If that sits there and floats your bubble, go ahead. But the average person sitting to your left or to your right now cannot do that, and I know it. I know they can't.
I just wanted to add with the whole checking the year when the house was built before. is that this has happened to me at least 10 times where I already know the age of the house, but then I'm in the home and I ask and they tell me a completely wrong answer. Like I know it was built in 66 and they think it's 78 or whatever. So if I hadn't looked it up, what am I supposed to do in the house then? Am I supposed to say, well, let's check Zillow just to double check? Like I wouldn't have added in the lead charges, you know what I mean? So that's just.
It'll come up
Well,
after the fact, and then we can go back.
Again.
And charge in the lead tests.
Right. We could either do that or getting way ahead. If our margins are good, just take the $150 out and I wouldn't care. How about that? But if we're not sure, we
$30.
Do what?
The lead test is $30.
It's 80 in Dallas. I don't know, but
Again,
to Terry's point, you got enough
if
margin.
our margins are right, it's not going to matter. But the point still being, though, is we can still look it up if we're not 100% sure. And then we have to tell the customer, hey, look, customer, just so you know, so you're positive it was built in 1980 and not 1966. Right. Because maybe let me ask you this. What makes Zillow correct?
Zillow's been wrong, correct.
What makes Zillow correct? Okay.
It's on the internet.
Oh, there. Bonjour. You know, again, what makes Zillow correct? How come maybe Zillow's incorrect? The house that my wife and I live in now, we are renting. Zillow says that house is 2,440 square feet. That house is 3,241 square feet. So that's the biggest 2,400 square foot house I've ever seen in my entire life. And I know it is after sitting there and watching the customer and going through their property tax when we're looking at the property taxes when they were talking about raising their rent. And then I measured the damn thing out. This thing is off by almost 800 square feet. So what makes that correct, though?
I agree. I think at the end of the day, I think there's just more negatives that can come from it than positives. And my house is a perfect example. It's because my house hasn't been title transferred in like 18 years. It's a super old photo that's on there. There's no listing photos on there at all. So it's pulling the Google Street View photo. And that photo, up until 2 weeks ago updated, was a photo from 2012. It shows like trailers, trucks, different siding, different roof, different fence, different yard, trees in the yard. It looks like a completely different house.
Right. Well, again, as long as you're a disciplined person, and that's what you want to do, because see, I get what you guys are saying about the whole lead test thing. Here's another thing. What if Zillow was wrong and we were charging for something that we didn't have to do?
More
could
margin.
Be that too, right? could be that too. Could be that too. But if you're disciplined enough that you're not going to pay attention to any of that, then there's nothing wrong with it. I just know that the average rep is not. And as soon as their eyes eventually go to the picture of the house to see if there's trailers in front of the house, if it's beat up, if the damn thing's messed up, how much the house cost, and all that other crap. Look, if I was in an area like Salt Lake City that appears to get there more than their fair share of snow, then if that's the case, you know, in the wintertime when they're getting a lot of snow, I would be out there canvassing condos and townhouses. That's where I would go. Because I can hit way more doors without having to walk all over the damn city through 3 feet of snow and shit. All right. And the problem with that is people will get on there and it's a 3-bedroom condo with 2 windows and 4 sliding glass doors because they got a sliding glass door in every room plus the living room. You know, they see the condo cost, I don't know, it's an older condo for 77 grand. It's Jesus Christ. The windows are going to be half the cost of the damn condo. And that gets into people's heads right away. Okay. It was worse when I was at Renewal by Anderson. When you go to a condo, the damn condo in Green Valley somewhere that was built in 1977, and the freaking condo is $77,000, and the price that I'm giving them for windows was 91 grand. The windows and doors cost more than the freaking condo did. But you start looking stuff up like that, and that starts getting in your head. So all I'm saying is if you're disciplined enough for it to not get in your head, then good. Kate, you are one of those disciplined people. I know you for sure. I get it. But the average person is not. So if you're not like that, then I wouldn't do it. Any other information I can get when I'm out at the house is all I'm saying. That's all. I'm not saying to not do it. So, Shadow, do we have a question over there?
No, we were just agreeing with if the house looks like, a crappy kind of tear down house on Zillow, it's like, it gets in your head, it's like, it doesn't matter, you're still gonna buy windows, like, you never know until you actually get in the house. Like, I really like that point that you brought up, it's like, looking at the photo,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like,
It's not like every nice
Can't
house in the
prejudge
pitch
it.
buys windows.
yeah, I mean, look at Marcon.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Don't even say that right to me.
Oh my god.
I mean, the absolute worst house I've ever been into, the worst, was in Pecos, Texas. When I got into that house, there was maybe 200 to 300 piles of dog shit in the house. True story. True story. True story. I was standing like this, holding my bag because I didn't want to put the bag down. When I went into their kitchen, they had saloon doors in the kitchen, from the ceiling down to the ground. When I walked into the kitchen, there was a section on the counter that was about 4 feet wide and the thickness of the counter that was clean. The rest of everything had bird shit everywhere because they had 11 cockatiels in the kitchen and they were using the kitchen as a giant birdhouse. And I still sold that job for 17 grand. And not only that, their credit was phenomenal. They were just slobs. That's all. They were just slobs. But slobs buy windows too. They do.
Yeah.
Slobs buy window too. Slobs have good credit also. Slobs have good credit also. So, and I can go on and 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 tell you hundreds of these stories in crap that's like that. Slobs buy windows also. The rest of their house may not be important, but the windows might. That's just the way that it is. So anyway, that being said, so no questions about company, everything. Everybody on this call is good to go from Monday's test, is what everybody is telling me, correct? We shall find out here pretty soon.
Right.
So again, it's a no big deal test. It's not like anybody's going to sit there and pull your toenails out if you don't sit there and get past the damn thing. Let's find out where we're at and where we need a little bit of work at. Nice job, everybody, after these meetings are over, that you guys are getting together and role playing. That's what we're going to need to do a lot of, is that let's make sure that we have that together. Next week, we're going to start step 5. Question for my MSPs. I sent out helpful things where it had argon gas, low E, and all that stuff. Did you guys get that email?
Was that today?
No. I think I sent that on April the 1st as well.
April?
Well, April the 1st, I haven't checked it since then.
Okay, well, then you should go back to April the 1st, goddammit. I sent that on January the 1st. Sorry, guys. Let me see if I can find it.
I see, I have the 10-step selling program with a list of things to keep in mind. It's so bad.
Open up the list of things.
I don't have it, Terry.
Terry, I just have that list, and then this script is the one that's attached to that email.
That is so weird. Because I have it here and it says sent. Okay, let me do this.
You
let me
forward
go
it, Terry,
from
just send it.
Yeah,
Just forward
I'm
the
gonna do it
original email.
again. I'm gonna do it this way to make sure. Camsters, the Kate Meister. Marky Mark. Okay, I just sent it again. Tell me if you guys get it.
You sent it to Mr. Blaylock too?
I'm pretty sure I did. Hold on.
Oh, you didn't say his name. There was no pet name for him, so I just wanted to make sure.
I'm a little hurt,
Well,
Terry.
he's just code.
No, he's
Oh.
COD, cash on delivery.
Yeah,
You should just go.
baby. Yeah, I got codes on there now. So you guys, and you know what, Kate? I remember bringing this to you, I think the second time I was there. So you may have it running around the office, but it doesn't matter. There's this. This might be something that's going to be good for everybody to look at over the weekend as well.
Yes.
What I have here is some helpful things to know: argon gas, low E coating, U factor, solar heat gain coefficient, Fibrex, tempered glass requirements, window egress laws, that type of shit there. Okay. That might be something that you might want everybody to look at. MSPs, that's up to you as to whether you feel that this is something you want to give them over the weekend or not to kind of peek at. This will help things move along a little bit in next week, because next week we have an awful lot of stuff to cover when it comes to windows themselves. Gases and low E coatings and things like that. For some of you seniors, and for some of you MSPs, at times you have heard me ask you some of these questions. Hey, look, tell me what argon gas is. And then hear what somebody has to say. And the shocking part is how so far off some of us are on that. Okay. So again, it's important that we sound and be the window expert when we're out there. Let me see here. This is going to sound horrible. Shadow. So if you were in the house with me as a customer, and I was a customer, and I were to ask you, what is argon gas? How would you explain that to me, Shadow? How would you do it? How would you
Argon
explain it?
gas is an inert gas, safe for us, makes up part of the air that we breathe, but we use it in the insulated glass unit to reduce the amount of convection, so the air movement in the room isn't as intense like what you've got now by having these glass panels just full of air. So as the argon gas is filled in there, it prevents the movement of the heat moving toward the window, going out, moving the air around in the room, creating kind of that drafty feeling that you guys have going on right now.
Okay. Miss Nicole, how would you sit there and explain it?
Well, I've always explained it as, argon gas is, 36% more dense than air. So what it's used for is to prevent not the heat from escaping, but heat goes towards cold. And again, it's the convection. And so, sorry, I got confused. It's basically the heat follows cold.
Let me stop you for a quick second. No, you're good, Mihita. You're okay. What you're trying to do is you're trying to explain from what you heard the other day. Forget what you heard the other day. You didn't hear anything. In your Apex life now, when you explain argon gas, what did you say then?
Well, what I used to say was that it's 36% more dense than air, and we use it to fill the space. It helps with noise reduction.
Okay. So, and here's what I meant when I said ugly. Look, I am not trying to put you guys on the spot. I am so sorry. This sounds like I am, and I know it looks like I am, baby, and I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm not trying to pick on you, Mijita, at all. Okay, not at all. Knowing all this stuff is what we want to make sure that we do, because what we need to do is we need to take advantage of the mistakes that other sales reps make. Okay. When you go into a customer's house, how do we find these mistakes out? Well, we're going to ask the customer. Okay. In step 5, we're literally going to start asking. Let me ask you a question, Miss Michelle. When the last window guy or whatever it is that you're reading about argon gas, when they explain argon gas to you, what did they say? The typical answer is going to be very close to what Nicole said, very close. People are going to sit there and say, well, it's an insulator that you put in that helps reduce sound and it cuts back on heat. Or they're going to say it helps with UV. You're going to hear all kind of horseshit answers. Okay. Now that's a mistake, and that's good for us. That's a mistake. The reason why we ask the question is to get the mistake out so the customer could hear themselves say it. Okay. Now what we're going to do is look at a customer and say, you know what, Mr. Jimmy's Johns, I apologize for my fellow partners in crime out there. Let me go ahead and explain to you exactly what it is. This way you'll know whether you need it or you don't when you sit there and start to get the information you need to have to make the best decision for yourself. So argon gas is an inert gas. It makes up approximately 1.5 to 2% of the air that we breathe. Doesn't mess with you in any way, shape, or form, and it is not an insulator at all. Actually, what it does is it helps cut back on convection. Let me explain what that is. Then when we get into that explanation and start explaining it, at that point now, who sounds like the expert? What they heard now or what they tried to translate from a minute ago? Which is a better way to go? It's the same thing with low E coating. Low E, everybody always says, well, low E is for the, for the UV rays, and it's a film that they put in all the stupid shit that people sit there and say. Okay. Now, when we say, okay, again, my apologies to my fellow partners in crime, my fellow cake eaters out there. Let me go ahead and explain to you so you know why it's important. Low E coating is, in layman's terms, it is a heat sensitive material that is put in the glass that reflects heat to the hottest side. Now we know that heat seeks cold, and we learned that a long time ago. So in the summertime, as the heat's drawn to the window to come in, it bounces it away. And in the wintertime, when the heat is drawn to the window to escape, it bounces it back into the house. Low E coating has no bearing on rain, sleet, snow, or shine, morning, noon, or night. It's all heat sensitive. Whichever side of the window is the hottest, that's the direction in which it sends your heat. Again, that is a much better, much cleaner explanation of what really low E coating is, which now makes me sound more like the expert. So as I keep going through some of these things and taking advantages of the mistakes that other reps are making, all of a sudden I start going higher and higher up on the ladder. Especially for somebody as small as me, getting higher up on the ladder is a good thing. Okay. Now, next week, or in 2 weeks, in about a week or so, when Norm Jenkins gets back, we're going to put Norm on the spot for a quick second. Say, hey, look, what is renewable by Andersen? Tell me what low E coating is. Tell me what argon is. And I can assure you what's going to happen is he's going to sit there and come across with something that's going to be weird or whatever, because that's how they were taught, because somebody read something in the back of a cocktail napkin or the back door of a bathroom door at McDonald's. Okay. Because somebody told somebody who told somebody who told somebody who told somebody that Michael Foyt was the ring announcer in Rocky V. Okay. And that's what happens. So knowing this stuff and knowing it this way, again, realization of energy efficiency through education. We will be the most educated reps out there. I can promise you that. Out of sheer petulance, we will make sure of that, if anything. Okay. So these are all good things. So the list that your MSPs are giving you, if that's what they're wanting to do, cool. If they want to wait till next week, up to you guys. But these are the things that we want to sit there and know. Okay. Can we go ahead and compare these and Google it? Say, let me see. Guys, I'm just going to tell you now, I wouldn't try to sharpshoot me like that. Uncle Sam spent a lot of dough to make sure I knew how to explain this part of Windows for sure. Okay. So you'll hear different things online, things like that. But in layman's terms, and this is about as layman as I can make it, here's where we're at. Now, if you want to know some shit, argon gas, Renewable by Andersen. I told you guys they use an argon gas, nitrogen gas blend, right? The reason why they do is so as it remains 100% gas filled at all times. If you do things with gas, the problem with gas is, in layman's terms, nature always wins. And the way gases work is the small number or the big number is attracted to the small number. So as argon gas, when you take a argon gas, nitrogen gas blend window, that's a 90-10 split. The 90% is trying to get out and dissipate into the rest of it, where everything is trying to get to the 10. So 2 years from now, 10 years from now, they may be 85% argon, but they'll be 15% nitrogen, and the numbers change. That's why they use that. There's a lot more explanation we can get into. If you really want to get your head fucked with, I can certainly do that for you. But that's actually why they use a blend, as is the alpha 10 gas. It's a way of being able to stay completely filled, is what it is. Most companies that use argon and only argon don't really give a hoot, because again, if you're having a dissipation rate of approximately 1.5 to 2%, then at 95% argon gas filled, 50 years from now, you're going to lose half your gas, something like that. Again, 50 years from now, if I live that long, I'm going to be 109 years old. Again, getting to the bathroom on time is what I'm going to be happy for. You know, I doubt I'm going to be worried about my gas. The gas does not leak. It dissipates. There is a difference. Leaking gas would then cause condensation in between the two panes of glass. So there's a difference between condensation and leak or
Dissipation.
Dissipation. Sorry, guys. Long week. Dissipation versus leaking. Okay. It doesn't leak. It dissipates. There's a difference. Okay.
So why wouldn't you just use nitrogen gas together if it doesn't?
Well, nitrogen gas you can't use by itself. So, truth be told, Renewable by Andersen was actually the first company that sat there and invented the first sealed double pane unit, and the gas that they used was nitrogen. The problem was, though, is nitrogen in between two panes of glass in that setting caused the glass to turn blue. So they had to get rid of it. So if you want to know the truth, that's actually it. It's just like casement windows. Casement windows was invented by Pella. Pella invented the first casement. They also invented the first window with blinds in between the two panes of glass, as well as the doors between two panes of the blinds in between two panes of glass and doors as well. Renewable by Andersen does hold about 100 patents in the window and door industry, for sure. One of them being the double hung. They started that as well. Okay. So, of course, for those of you who just want to know shit, Renewable by Andersen was not a window and door company to start out with. Hans Andersen actually started the company, and it was a lumber yard. He was a lumber company. He started developing wood windows back in the day, and his window company was born. But he actually started out in the lumber yard, Andersen Lumber. So, again, all these things to know. So some things for us to know that we could take a few notes down, and I'm going to let everybody get out of here. Okay. Again, you've heard me say it before, so if you didn't write it down now. 90% of all heating and cooling lost or gained is lost and gained through the windows and doors. 35% of the average house, if you measure the windows and doors combined, or 35% of that is made up of your outer walls. That is a fact. Okay. However, adding new good windows and doors to your home, again, depending on the magazine that you're reading, you can sit there and recoup 5 to as much as 10%, or improve the value of your home by 5 to 10%, depending on the part of the country. and the home you live in, or it also depends on the bullshit thing that you're reading. Other stuff that you'll read is that vinyl windows will increase the home with a value or increase the value of home approximately $14,660, give or take $1 or $2 either way. And wood windows approximately 16,000 and change. Again, depending on the part you live in. In the desert Southwest, you take a hit for wood windows. Okay. These are important because when we start doing return on investment and shit like that, we're going to want to sit there and nothing. Look at that. That's big bad Bryant right there, baby. I can see him. You can't sneak in around here, brother. I got you. Did you see him? Did you see him trying to do this?
That's what I just said.
Yeah, I saw him. He can't sit there and low crawl here. So there's a number for you to know. You guys have heard in the window industry, cost versus value. Cost versus value is not a thing we're going to use a lot here. Return on investment is what we're going to learn and how to pitch here. Return on investment is a lot more powerful than cost versus value. I understand for some of you, Apex taught you cost versus value. It is effective-ish, but it's not near as powerful as return on investment. Cody and I went over this drill actually the other day. So I would ask your input on this, Cody. Cost versus value or return on investment, which is a better way to go, you think?
100% ROI. I think some people would use the cost versus value to build into an ROI, but not everybody delivered it to be able to convey that message to the customer.
Yep. Return on investment is a much, 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 much better way to go. Much better. Much better. Yo.
When you're dealing with realtors and when you're dealing with people who are being belligerent about how, oh, you know, there's no way that's going to add value to the house. I know because I sell houses or I've bought and sold houses before. I'll never get my money out of those things. And it doesn't happen all the time. But when I run into realtors, which is funny because, you know, the conversation usually ends up where they agree. But just as a general rebuttal, how do you handle and we can table this if we're going to go over it next week. But like, I just want to know more about how you handle the cost versus value versus the ROI,
right,
you know, conversation, because we're not dealing with double pane, we're dealing with triple pane, and there are some differences. But even the cost versus value report, it's like the way that I use that is just say, hey, we're just talking about double pane windows, half-inch glass package typically.
Hold on, Mark. So let me answer that. One, yeah, let's table that because there's actually a drill that I can put up on the board and show you how to do that. Return on investment, you will literally get your money back. Literally, you're literally going to get your money back. Okay. Number one. Number two, you know, just to answer this part of it, when a realtor tell me, look, I sell houses, I know that. Okay, I get it. I'm going on 60 years old. I've had a driver's license for 40 something years, but that doesn't make me ready for the Indianapolis 500 either. The fact that they sell houses, what the fuck does that have to do with anything as to what they do or don't know as far as how much a window or a door may or may not raise the value of somebody's home? They don't, because there's not a set number. It depends on who you believe in. You know, the average income in Phoenix is anywhere from 65 to 68,000 a year, depending on the census you believe in. So which census is correct? What magazine is correct? You know, what cocktail napkin that this real estate agent left, or maybe the idiot that sat there and taught them didn't know what the hell they were talking about. You know, again, I once caught a fish that big. Okay. What I can sit there and say is if everybody here researches enough on how much will windows improve the value of your home, you are going to find all kind of shit out there. You're going to see 5%, 10%, 3%. $14,000, $16,000. It just depends on the census you believe in. What we're going to do when we're teaching this and showing the customer is we are going to go ahead and reduce the number down to the ridiculous so there's no way somebody can disagree with us. And then we're going to add all the other things on how to get your money back when you're doing windows. Truth be told, though, anybody that really tells me I'm never going to get my money back on this, my typical answer usually is, no kidding. Of course you're not. You're not supposed to either. There's only one thing that you can do to your home that you can recoup 100% of what you put into it. There's only one thing. Kate, what would that one thing be? Do you remember?
Footage.
Square footage. That's it. That is the only remodeling that you can do to your home that you're going to recoup 100% of your investment, and that's square footage. The number one return on investment when it comes to remodeling of homes is kitchens and bathrooms, and you still don't get 100% of that. The number two thing is windows and doors, and you're not going to recoup that either. So there's no way to do anything to your home that you're going to recoup 100% of your investment other than square footage. So no shit, Sherlock, when somebody sits there and says, I'm never going to get it. Well, no kidding, you're not. Just like when you sell your car, you're not going to sit there and do the same thing. You buy a brand new Mercedes for X amount of dollars. 2 years later, you turn around and sell it. You're not going to get your money back on it unless the person you sold it to is an idiot, which is okay because there's one born every day, they say. Okay. So, that being
Terry,
said,
can I add something to the realtor thing real quick, because I over the past couple of years I had sold, I don't know, 8 to 10 different realtors, and we're talking about the value that adds to the home, and some of them would be like, no, it's not a selling point. People don't care about the windows. Windows are windows. And then other people would be like, oh God, yeah, if a house has like good windows, good warranty, it's gonna transfer. Oh my God, it makes it so much easier to sell. People like love that because it's a project they don't want to do. After that came through a few times, I actually found some listings by these different realtors. The one that was like, they don't care, had a home that had updated windows. That's all he said, updated windows. Another listing from him, updated windows. Like if I two that had that. The person who said it was a big deal, their post was, their like listing was completely different. Previous homeowners updated to high efficiency triple pane windows 9 months ago. Warranty will transfer over to the new homeowner for whatever it was, like 25 years for the date of sale. Covers glass breakage, steel fit. It was kind of similar to our warranty. I don't know if it wasn't us, but it was probably like a Debella or something like that. It was coming from AMI. But they're just reading through that. I was like, yeah, this is making me exciting just reading the listing if I was like looking at buying that house versus updated windows.
Yeah, it is. That's what I mean. It's just somebody's opinion about stuff. But adding windows to a home does improve the value of the home. If they're good windows, it just does. Any improvement you do to the home improves the value of the home. That's why it's called a home improvement. That's why they want you to pull a permit, because if you improve the value of the home, that also increases your property taxes. Gee, imagine that. Imagine that, why it's called home improvement. Can you imagine? Okay. So these things like this is good for you guys that over the weekend while you're studying, if you want to look at some stuff, look at some stuff. You guys get in there and put in, does adding windows to homes improve the value? See what the stuff is that you're reading. And the funny thing is half of you will all read something different. Just the way that it is. But what we do know for sure is it does in fact do that. It does. For any real estate agent that says it doesn't matter, that's a bold-face lie. That's a bold-face lie. Bold-face. It does improve the value of the home. It does. So there's a lot of things that we can do that you guys are going to learn. Return on investment and things like that. We're going to be doing more of that actually in the close. But we're going to have to start talking about a lot of this, though, in step 5, because this is where the selling is going to start next week. So that being said, listen, it's about 8:15, guys. I appreciate everybody's time. Cody, Mark, my MSPs, I need you to do me a favor. Stay on this phone call. I'll stay on this. Let's ask everybody to go ahead and take a smoke break for about 15, 20 minutes. And I'm just going to keep everybody on here so we don't have to do another deal, because I need my MSPs, and I'm not going to be able to talk about Diana or Tanner or Nicole or Jimmy or any of them if they're in the room. I'm just going to talk about them. Everybody else is saying, look at this guy slip sliding back and forth the way he is.